Hey guys, Baddies Africa, episode 11, review slash recap. If you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. And if you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you follow me on TikTok. Okay, so this episode starts with episode 10 left off. Tavii was getting up to fight Dolly again. She said she was done having dialogue with her and she just wants to fight until she gets her chain. When she was running up on Dolly, she was asking Dolly what's in your pocket, but she didn't get to find out the answer before they started fighting. So Tavii and Dolly gonna go multiple rounds throughout this whole scene. Tavii sneaks her most of those times, but I don't blame her for that because at this point all bets are off. Dolly stole from Tavii. But the first round when they were just squaring up and they both knew each other were coming, I feel like Dolly got that. I'm not gonna lie. Tavii didn't do terrible, but she definitely didn't beat Dolly up the way she did the first time they fought. So when they broke them up the first time, Tavii was saying Dolly always got something in her pocket. Dolly gonna say, yeah, because I'm that bitch. How are you that bitch because you always got something in your pocket? It sounds like you be using weapons, but you be acting like you the best fighter in the world. And that would be no surprise because from the day we saw Dolly at them auditions, she was wearing rings. And that's why I did not like her from day one. Anyway, Natalie's in her confessional talking about she's at her wit's end with this chain BS and Dolly just needs to give Tavii her chain back. But you're not being a boss and stepping up and telling Dolly that. You're basically asking Dolly to give Tavii back the chain. You're her boss. You should be telling her what to do. She stole something that you gave to somebody else. Then we see Ivory helping Tavii take her wig off because she was saying she didn't want Tavii edges to get snatched out, and she was basically saying in her confessional that she was tired of seeing Tavii fight by herself. She feel like Tavii don't really got no support, and maybe if Tavii just got somebody giving her a pep talk and kind of coaching her, she could do a little bit better in her fights. It's kind of sad that they fell out and they saying they gonna fight at the reunion because it seemed like Ivory did really like her. I think she just liked Cole, K, Rican, and Fauna a little bit more. So second round, Tavii and Dolly go again. This one was fair. It wasn't a sneak, but with Ivory's coaching, Tavii did a lot better. Ivory was telling her to grab the back of Dolly's neck, and she did that. And clearly she was beating Dolly up because Dolly even admitted that she tried to bite Tavii's face off. So DTB started chanting, where's the chain, where's the chain? Nobody joined her, so she eventually stopped. And then Tavii just was like, I'm tired of this. I'm going to just keep sneaking Dolly. Like, I need my rounds. So this is when she started sneaking Dolly. So she sneaks her the first time. So now everybody's starting to get on Natalie's ass. So DTB turns to Natalie and she's like, CEO, do your job. Basically, get the chain back. It shouldn't be a question. It should be you telling them what to do and they should listen. So at this point, Dolly had kind of walked away a little bit, so Natalie was kind of relaying the message to Lex. And she was telling Lex, like, it's really not sitting well with everybody how Dolly stole the chain. And Lex said, I don't understand why. Lex is being stupid, and this is what I mean when I say she loves to defend the BS that Summer and Dolly do. She literally said in one of her confessionals last week that she do personally feel like Dolly should give the chain back. But she know Dolly gonna do it on her own time. So why when all of the girls are telling you they feel a way about it, you acting like you don't understand why? You do understand why. That's why you feel like in your heart Dolly should give it back. But because that's your friend, you just going to continue to defend the BS. Ivory was basically saying, well, everybody was getting up because they wanted to make sure that Tavii wasn't going to get jumped. Lex and Summer said they don't have to jump in Dolly fights because Dolly could handle her own. But y'all was jumping in fights with people who could fight less than Tavii, like Cole, K, Rican, and Fauna. So make it make sense. And at this point, Summer is in her confessional and you can see that she's just looking for drama. And she's about to just insert herself in any way she can. She's like, I'm back on the show. I need to insert myself back into the algorithm and back into the storylines of the show. So she's like, before I left, I had smoke with a couple of y'all. So what's up now? Da 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 da. Cole K gets up and she's like, what do you want to do, Summer? Summer's like, oh, you need to worry about that B that's effing your baby dad. Talking about Marissa. So now Marissa's up, Fauna's up, K Rican's up, and Cole K is up. So they all going back and forth. But while this is happening, Tavii calls out Dolly for another round. So Tavii ran up on Dolly again. So like I told y'all, out of all of the rounds they had, I feel like Dolly got the first one, but Tavii got all the rest. So now Ivory turns to Natalie and she's telling Natalie, you need to do your job and get the chain. Natalie's talking about, I already told Dolly she need to give the chain back. Clearly you didn't tell her good enough. And then Pretty P was just in her confessional saying the same thing. Like, Natalie, you supposed to be the boss, so you need to be holding them accountable. And then Tavii started saying if she don't give my chain back, she need to go home. Now, I don't know if they really would have did that, but I don't think Tavii is in the position to call that shot. The only person that could bring that up and it could go somewhere is Rolly or Scotty, and the only person that could really make that final decision is going to be Natalie and Lemmy. Then after that, K Rican runs up on Summer. You know they both really can't fight, but I feel like K Rican did it right this time. I'm going to give her the win. It was short. They both was windmilling, but K Rican got Summer wig, so hey. So for the 150th time, we see Rolly coming up to Dolly and she's doing Natalie's job once again. She tells Dolly, you know, you've been through too much here for you to go home over stealing somebody's chain. You don't have anything else to prove, so let's just give the chain back. Dolly literally said in her confessional, you know what, since Rolly asked me to give the chain back, I'm gonna give it back. So that just goes to show, Natalie, nobody respects you. You've been asking Dolly for 2 episodes to give the damn chain back, and she kept telling you no. But when Rolly asked her, she just gave it back. So Dolly was telling Rolly to make sure Tavii don't hit her again, get her back, because my hand is effed up. So now we got injured, fragile, sad Dolly again, talking about she can't fight no more because her hand is messed up. Okay. And K was basically in her confessional, basically saying, you know, everybody might not get along with Tavii, but everybody's basically on her side about the chain situation because it's about principles. You taking somebody's stuff, you stealing stuff, and nobody respects that. So Dolly kept telling them move Tavii out the way so she could get to the room. Tavii finally moves out the way. Dolly fake screams like she's scared. And Tavii was like, you trying to be funny, but you really being scary. Which she is. Like I said, now all of a sudden your hand is so hurt you can't fight no more. But you've been going round for round with this girl for the past 20-30 minutes. Probably longer than that. Because it's 20-30 minutes to us. It's probably been hours that you've been fighting this girl when you didn't have to, because you could have been gave the chain back. So anyway, Dolly walks up to the room with Rolly and she's like, yeah, they better be lucky you told me to give it back, because otherwise I wasn't giving it back. And Rolly says she knew she could get the chain from Dolly because she's well respected amongst these girls. So once again, Natalie, what are you doing? You're not in the house. You're not getting to know these girls. You just paying them. So it's like, yeah, they respect you because you're the person giving them their money, but that's just like the relationship anybody got with their boss. Like, okay, you hired me, I get paid through you, but I still don't gotta like you, and I really still don't gotta respect you because you're not taking the time to get to know me. And once again, you could just tell that Rolly just cares about these girls more than Natalie does. She was telling Dolly, you need to stop fighting, you need to let your hand heal. And Dolly was like, I'm gonna be all right, I'm gonna be all right. And Rolly looked at her hand and she was like, no, your fingers are filled with fluid. Like, you need to let that go down. Like, literally looking at her hand and caring about her health, not caring about, okay, yeah, keep fighting because it's good for the ratings of the show. So then K-Rican calls Russian out. Russian is like, oh, you could wait. And K-Rican was like, no, I'm not about to wait, because the first couple episodes when she wasn't feeling good, remember, she was like going through, I don't know, jet lag or just adjusting to being in a new country. But when they first got to Africa, she was not feeling well. And Russian kept following her around the house, kicking down the bathroom door, trying to fight her. But now you injured or you don't feel well and you telling K-Rican she could wait. So I don't blame K-Rican for saying, no, I'm not waiting for nothing. So with all that being said, K-Rican was in the right place to me morally, but when she ran up, she did get her ass beat. Russian beat K-Rican ass, and that's sad because Russian hand is messed up. But this is what I said, I like K-Rican, but she really just good for reads and mouth. And some are going to say, oh yeah, Russian got out there even with the broken hand. Show me your baddest bitch. So Russian is clearly really getting into that trio with Summer, Lex, and Dolly, even though she called them ugly. They don't care. I low-key feel like they just want an extra number, because this season is so cliquey and everybody's broken up into these trios and these groups. So then K-Rican tried to run up on Russian a second time. Russian kicked K-Rican in the chest and then kind of tore her up again. So yeah, K-Rican did not get that. So then this meeting kind of turns against Russian, but K-Rican kind of took the conversation over and said that the issue is that Russian been talking about everybody in the house. She talked about Rolly, she talked about Tavii, she talked about Elsie, she talked about Lex, Summer, Dolly, etc. So then Rolly and Tavii started asking where the video was of Russian Cream saying she looked better than Summer, Lex, and Dolly. They got the video out. Rolly started showing it to Summer, Lex, Scotty, etc. So everybody's gagging because they think that Lex, Summer, and Dolly don't know that Russian said this already. But luckily for Russian, she went and kind of saved face and told them about it last episode. Russian knew that at some point the girls were going to bring this up to Lex, Summer, and Dolly to try to turn them against her, so she got ahead of it. She's still fake, and Summer, Lex, and Dolly are still stupid for accepting her and taking her under their wing, but she was smart for getting ahead of it. So Natalie was so gagged, you know, I think she thought new drama was about to happen, but Lex was like, guess what, we already know, Russian already told us about this. And Rolly was like, yeah, you told them because you knew you were going to get your ass beat. And Russian was like, no, I be drunk and I know I be pillow talking, so I just wanted to tell them before you guys did. And Lex basically said in her confessional that she didn't feel like Rolly and the girls were coming from a good place, like telling her and Summer, don't hang out with Russian because she don't got y'all back. Because she said if that was the case, they would have been told us about the video. They been knew that this video was out there of Russian calling us ugly, but they waited until it was convenient for them to tell us about it. So Lex said she felt like that was messy, and that was just Rolly and them not really wanting her to have new relationships with other girls in the house. So Scotty was just looking at the situation, and she was seeing how Lex and Summer was still taking Russian's side, so she kind of wiped her hands of it. She walked away and was like, hey, if they want to be stupid and still be friends with her, then that's on them. And she said in her confessional she do feel like they should feel away, because why would Russian randomly be talking about them, calling them ugly before she ever met them? And then now she trying to act like she didn't mean it and she was just drunk and she want to be their friends. No, she looking for new protection, because like Fauna says, she done went from group to group to group in this house. Then all of a sudden we got Elsie stepping up talking about Cole K, I need that. And she talking about she want to fight because Cole K smacked her at the winery 2 weeks ago, 3 episodes ago. And she like, Cold K thought she did her big one, but I need that now. Elsie, please. You're still a punk. Somebody smacked you or punched you right in your face and you didn't do nothing about it. Now 2 weeks later, you stepping up and you think you're doing something. You only stepping up because you know they're about to send you home and you on the chopping block. So you trying to come up with a plan to get yourself seen and to get yourself respected. And you know Cold K really can't fight like that. But nothing changes the fact that she smacked you and you did nothing. Like, Elsie is stupid. So Cold K and Elsie start fighting. Neither one of them could fight, so I really don't feel like neither one of them was doing nothing, but at least Cold K swings more than Elsie does. We all know Elsie goes into these fights and just starts hugging people and doesn't even swing. I don't know why K Rican felt like she needed to jump in, because Elsie is an easy win and Cold K has beat her up before. So I don't feel like K Rican needed to help Cold K. K Rican trying to jump into this made everything go left, because Lex started getting involved, because you know she likes Elsie, and Lex was telling K Rican, you're not gonna jump in for Cold K while she's fighting Elsie. All of a sudden Fauna comes out of nowhere and hits Lex in the face. So I do feel like Fauna and K Rican was completely wrong for this. They should have never been trying to jump into this fight, because Cold K did not need help with Elsie. So once Fauna hit Lex, she was like, you know, I definitely need that, come here. So first round they go, Fauna gets dropped. I know some people was trying to say she just tripped, but I still feel like she just went into the fight swimming. Like, she was going down regardless. And I really don't see a trip. I see Lex tossing her. So Fauna's in her confessional saying that Lex want to jump into everybody fight except for her friends. So I guess she's saying Lex don't be jumping in with Summer and Dolly, but when Elsie be fighting, Lex be jumping in. But I think that's because Lex look at Elsie as a weak link, and she's not going to let y'all jump a weak link, which I could understand. Like I said, Cold K did not need help with Elsie. And then Fauna was in her confessional talking about mop, acting like she did something to Lex, talking about Lex had to back up. Fauna, you wasn't doing nothing with Lex, so I don't know what's the delusion about. So Cold K and Elsie decide to go for a second round. Look at how Elsie is entering this fight. Look at her stance. Like, Elsie is insane. Cold K was swinging a lot more this round. To me, she definitely got this round. Elsie did try to get Cold K into a headlock at the end of the fight, but she got out of it pretty quickly. So Fauna and Lex go another round. Fauna was still all over the place, swimming all over the place, about to fall again. And Lex was whooping Fauna, in my opinion. Now, was she eating the punches? Yes, but she still got whooped. So Natalie says, okay, we're going out tonight. Does anybody else have anything they want to get off their chest? Elsie says she just wants to say that she heard that the girls are trying to send her home, and she's letting them know that she's not going home. This is her turf. She's from Africa, and she can't be sent home. I guess, like I said, Elsie must have not watched Baddies Caribbean, where Dia was the only girl from the Caribbean. She was from the Bahamas, and they sent Dia home mid-season. So they will definitely send your ass right back up the street to Zimbabwe with your grandfather, who you claim is the VP. So when Elsie started saying she wasn't going anywhere, you see how DTB and the other girls are looking at her, and Rolly was like, yeah, we'll see about that, because I feel like they both need to go home. And Rolly's still talking about she feels the way that Tavii got jumped by Dolly and Lex, and Elsie and Russian didn't help. And Elsie said, that girl was not my friend by that point. She literally had hit me, so why would we still be considered friends? Then Rolly said in her confessional that Elsie makeup looked like Michael Jackson. I mean, she didn't lie. She definitely didn't lie. But as far as Russian, she said that Russian is always injured. Now, Russian do kind of be injured a lot, but I feel like Rolly likes Dolly. So if you like Dolly and you want Dolly to stay around, then you can't really say nothing about anybody else being injured, because Dolly is the most injured baddie in history. So Rolly asked who want to see Elsie and Russian go home. So you see there was quite a few hands up, but then Elsie said, oh, we could fight about it. And Rolly said, okay, then stand up for yourself. And Ivory was like, yeah, y'all need to fight each other. So clearly Rolly and Ivory are playing EP, which they both have been doing throughout this season, and they created a storyline and staged a fight. I told y'all from episode 10, when Ivory sat down with Russian and Elsie and kind of told them they needed to battle, that she was setting that up for the next episode. So this is what we're getting. So Russian and Elsie start fighting. I can't tell you who won. Neither one of them could fight either, and it was too much grabbing for me. But somehow after the fight, DTB was saying Elsie did her big one and Elsie don't need to go home. And then Rolly was like, okay, well, Elsie said she's not going home, so she's not going home. So I don't know if they just wanted her to stand up for herself, if they just wanted her to turn against Russian or what. But they was acting like Elsie really did something when neither one of them did nothing. And in my opinion, they both could still go. Elsie was doing that weird screaming, crash out shit she was doing the first couple episodes when she got mad. I do not want to hear that shit. From there, Fauna starts yelling at Lex, basically telling Lex, all of this is because you claimed you was mad that Tavii was talking to me off camera, but you be trying to talk to me and be my friend off camera. Lex said that wasn't true. Do I believe Lex? Absolutely not, because too many people have said that about her. Jayla said that, Anna said that, and a few other people said that. Lex will get on camera and have a storyline and fight you, and then as soon as the camera's turned off, she'll come to you and be in your face and be like, oh, I don't really have a problem with you. It was just for the show. Now, most of the people in the room was agreeing with Rolly, saying that Russian was fake and that Summer, Lex, and Dolly shouldn't be taking Russian under their wing if she called them ugly. Lex decides to single Scotty out and say, oh, I know you not agreeing with Fauna because me and you talked our issues out and Natalie called you ugly and you still cool with her. So Scotty said, first of all, me and Natalie are cool because that's my boss. We're not friends. I'm not calling her my friend and I'm not fighting for Natalie. Like, Scotty is clearly still not really fucking with Natalie like that. But also, why did Lex feel the need to only say something to Scotty and get mad that she's agreeing with Fauna when most of the people in the room are agreeing with Fauna? And telling Scotty she don't need to say nothing and she don't need to be agreeing. She could agree and have whatever opinion she want to have. And of course, Natalie was just sitting there looking stupid while Scotty and Lex are going back and forth. And while Scotty is telling Lex, Natalie is not my friend, I'm not befriending her and I'm not fighting for her. So just in case Natalie didn't know, Scotty definitely let her know right then and there. So Summer asked Marissa, do you have something to say to me? Marissa said, I don't know you. It was clear that Summer was just fishing for an issue with Marissa. Even from last episode, she was asking Marissa if she enjoyed being a baddie. And when Marissa said yes, Summer said, oh, that's because she hasn't been initiated yet. So I guess she felt like she needed to break Marissa into the baddies experience, which is obviously fighting. So she's just looking for any reason to get Marissa to fight her. Marissa says she see that Summer want a problem and she don't do too much arguing. So she just gonna give her what she want. Now, I definitely think Marissa won the fight, but I don't think her or Summer are the best fighters. But I will say that Marissa was kind of windmilling, but she did keep her head up the whole time, and some of the hits did kind of connect. I don't know if she fights somebody else, if she would do good, but fighting people like Summer, she could probably continue to do good. So all the girls were jumping up and down, hyping Marissa up like she did her big one, you know, because they all against Summer, and she did win. Okay, so Natalie's trying to wrap up the house meeting. She's saying we have an appearance tonight, and Ivory's like, yeah, everybody cut. Any problems can be saved for tomorrow, but it's time for us to get ourselves together because we got to go out. Meanwhile, you see Summer, Lex, and Dolly all huddled up on the side, pointing and looking and laughing at Fauna. And Lex says she looks a mess. So Fauna looked at Lex and said, you look a mess. So then Scotty was having Fauna back, and she was like, she looks beautiful, she's a bad bitch. And Lex was like, and you're not. And Scotty turned around and started twerking like, yes, I am. And Lex said, all you have is body, all you have is body. And Scotty said, why are you so pressed? Because you told her she looked a mess, and I was telling her she's beautiful. Then as everybody is on their way out of the meeting, Tavii randomly sneaks Dolly again. So I guess even though Tavii got her chain back, she still is on that with Dolly. So as the girls are getting ready to go to the club, we see Russian saying she's not going because her hand is messed up. She need to get it checked out. Tavii saying she's not going because she got blood and cuts all over the place and she just need to sit down for a night and heal. And Fauna said, I don't think she said she wasn't going, but I'm assuming she wasn't going because she said she needed a rest and she needed a baddie break. So besides that, we see the girls who are going out getting ready. Lex and Dolly, Rolly, Co, K, Elsie, etc. From there, we see the girls on their way to the club. So as usual, we have two groups. So group one is Natalie, but I don't think she actually got in the sprinter with them because, you know, she rides by herself. So Dolly, Lex, Elsie, Rolly, and somebody else. Must be Summer. And then the other group is K Rican, Pretty P, DTB, Ivory, Choco, Cole K, and like I said, Fauna stayed home. So on this bus, Rolly was just asking them about the fights earlier. So, you know, Elsie basically gave a recap on why she fought Cole K. Lex basically gave a recap on why she fought Fauna and was letting the girls know that K Rican was trying to jump in Cole K versus Elsie. Then they started talking about Russian, and Summer was basically saying she feel like Russian really got in the paint tonight. And Summer was like, you know, she was injured and everything, but she fought for her spot just like you, Elsie. And Rolly was in her confessional basically saying she don't feel like Summer need to be giving Russian no props for fighting Elsie. Like I said, in my opinion, neither one of them need props for fighting each other, and they both could still go. And then on the other bus, DTB was basically saying that she has respect for Elsie now. And I agree with Cole K when she said Elsie should have been did something when Cole K smacked her at the winery. You don't get a respect from anybody for a delayed reaction of 2 to 3 episodes, however many days that was, after somebody smacked you for you to do something. So yeah, I definitely agree with Ivory and Cole K. Like, Elsie is weak, and she only did this because she was on the chopping block. Back on the other bus, Rolly is basically saying what I think we all already know. Elsie, Russian, and Tavii were never really friends. They were just the last 3 left without an alliance, so they decided to come together. So that's why it was so easy for their alliance to fall apart and for them to all put their hands on each other. Now, Summer was clocking tea a little bit when she said that Marissa and Cole K were acting like they were cool, and that's what she was calling out. Because like I told y'all, present day, Cole K and Marissa are beefing, and Cole K said that her and Marissa were beefing over the baby dad before they got in the house. So Summer was saying she felt like they were being fake because she saw that they were arguing and Cole K was clowning Marissa about the baby dad online. But when Marissa came in the house, they were acting like they were kumbaya and they were family. So basically, right before they arrive to the club, we see this bus, and they were basically just saying tonight they're going to be cool, they're going to be cordial. But if it seemed like Dolly, Summer, Lex, or any of the other girls over there are getting on that, then they're going to be on that. And Ivory said as long as it's fair, she's going to stay out of it. You know, people can have one-on-ones, but if Summer, Lex, and Dolly start jumping, that's when she feel like she got to step in. So as they walking into the club, we see that Marissa's hand is messed up, and she talking about she got to really get her mind together. So from there, we see the girls in the club, and at first, everything is going well. We see Dolly do a confessional, and she basically said, you know, there was tension before we left the house, and I was trying to keep everything cordial. So me, Summer, and Lex was really on the floor, while all the other girls was on the stage. Now, Lex is on the stage, but Dolly and Summer were on the floor. And then she basically said, here come Ivory and Pretty P jumping down. And she like, you know, I don't fuck with them, so why are they jumping down here when I was keeping myself separate from them, basically. So Ivory is drunk, and she starts playing, like, dancing, but she's choking Summer, and then she chokes Dolly. Now, when she did it to Summer, Summer kind of laughed it off and just swatted Ivory's hand away, and you could see that Lex was in the back laughing. She thought it was hilarious, but Dolly didn't think it was funny, and she immediately pushed Ivory's hands away and was like, don't touch me. Now, I see both sides, because Dolly is basically saying, like, girl, you know me and you don't fuck with each other outside of this club. We doing this for business. So don't touch me and try to dance with me by choking me like we cool. Ivory was playing, but she was too drunk, and she definitely did too much. I did see where Dolly was coming from, even though I don't like Dolly. So Dolly kind of caught Ivory off guard. She hit Ivory, and Ivory hit the floor. You can see Lex and DTV are caught off guard. Everybody is like, what's going on? And from there, all hell breaks loose. So like I said, all hell breaks loose, and then we see Natalie just sitting there laughing like a goofy, throwing her hands up as if she don't know why these girls are fighting and they're just crazy. But Natalie encourages all of this. And once again, why are you not stepping in as a boss when this is basically a crisis? You guys are in another country, another continent, and they're fighting outside in public. So Pretty P did try to get to Dolly and Summer, but the security was holding her back. They were obviously holding Ivory back. So DTV was like, okay, Ivory can't get to them, so I'm going to try to get to Dolly. She gets up on the stage and does a WWE elbow drop down to Dolly. I don't know if she hit Dolly or not, but Diamond ended up on the floor. I do think she might have hit Dolly, though, because later on we see Dolly on the bus on her way home, and she's like holding her nose and covering her nose. Summer gonna say in her confessional, Diamond, you ain't no WWE, you ain't even a baddie. She more of a baddie than you. It's like, Summer, Diamond is really who you want to be. But okay. So from here, it was complete chaos. They were, I guess, trying to get Ivory onto the sprinter, but Ivory was saying she needed that now. DTV and Pretty P and Cold K are all trying to tell her, like, we going home with them, but you got to get on the sprinter. Like, we have to get off the street. We're in Africa. It's not clicking. So Ivory is swinging on DTV and Pretty P, not like really swinging on them, but like pushing them and shoving them hard. Like, you know, Ivory's strong. So she's using force with this push and shove. And some of it is like mushes to the face and everything. And Ivory's crying, and it's just too much. Like I said, she was way too drunk, and that was the cause of all of this. Like, I know she didn't have bad intentions and she was just playing, but that's the cause of all of this. At some point, Ivory started choking DTV. Okay, so eventually they get these girls back on their buses, but Ivory is definitely still saying once she gets to the house, she needs that. Ivory's crashing out saying she's going to give them what she wants, so I guess she's letting Zeus know that now that's TV Ivory is about to come out. And Choco is basically saying she's embarrassed because, you know, she's an African native, and she's like, we're fighting in the streets, like, this is a mess. Dolly says she feel like Ivory came down there to F with her. I don't really think that's true. Like I said, I don't think Ivory had bad intentions. I just think she was drunk, and she kind of think like she could play with these girls how she kind of play with them girls on Young and Reckless. And you can't play with everybody here how you play with them. So Cold K says she understood where Ivory was coming from because everybody knows that they're not supposed to fight in the clubs. So that's kind of supposed to be a safe space. So obviously Ivory never thought that Dolly was going to sneak her in that place. And Summer was basically saying, you know, Ivory did the same thing that she did to me, to Dolly. But I kind of just was like, bitch, stay over there because you chose a side. Which is true. Ivory did choose a side because when Tavii and Dolly was fighting, she obviously was cheering Tavii on and coaching Tavii. So as they arrive into the house, DTV is telling the production to make sure that the cameras keep rolling, and Ivory is saying don't cut them because they're planning to give them a show. So they get to the house. Natalie calls herself going off on the girls, saying that they're banned from everywhere in Africa. Nobody believed her. Cold K was like, girl, please, Natalie, we're not banned. We might be banned from that one club, but we're not banned from the city or the continent or the country we're in, whatever. And Natalie basically says she was just trying to be dramatic to calm the girls down, but it clearly didn't work. So Ivory was talking to Natalie through the bus window and basically letting Natalie know she didn't care what she was talking about as far as them being banned from Africa. She was like, Dolly hit me and I want to fight her. So she was like, okay, like she told Dolly, get off the bus because Ivory wants to fight. So Natalie's continuing to tell them that they have to leave Africa. Now, we do know at some point in this season, they're going to transition to being in the UK. I thought it was going to be more towards the end, like the final trip, but maybe it'll be coming soon. So we just have to see. So Natalie was telling Ivory that she was really disappointed in Dolly for starting this. And Dolly started yelling at Natalie, like, how did I start this if Ivory choked me? So Ivory gets off the bus. Pretty P is right behind her, and I'm sure DTB is not too far behind. Ivory starts fighting Dolly, and the episode cuts off there. I can't even really get into the preview for next week because it was way too much fighting for me to even be able to break it down. So we'll just get to episode 12 when we get to episode 12. Okay, for Baddies Africa episode 11, my least valuable OG is Natalie. My most valuable OGs are DTB, Rolly, and Scotty in that order. My most valuable new G is still Ivory, even though she was crashing out. And like I said, she was drunk and she should have never choked Dolly. But I don't think her intentions were bad. And she still entertained me throughout the episode. My least valuable new G for this episode was Summer. I feel like she was just looking for a problem with Marissa and just looking for issues in general. Like I said, she trying to get her camera time back up because she been going for a while. My most valuable newbies are Tavii and Marissa. And my least valuable newbies are Elsie and Russian. I also would probably add Cole K as my third most valuable newbie for this episode as well. Okay, guys, so that's my Baddies Africa episode 11 review/recap. I'll see y'all soon for Baddies Going Wild episode 12, which I believe is the season finale, and Baddies Africa episode 12. If you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. If you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you follow me on TikTok. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.